there is a question that sits quietly in the back of the mind of almost every working person in Africa. Not the big dramatic question about becoming a billionaire. Not the abstract question about financial freedom someday in the future. A simpler, more urgent question: what if my salary stopped tomorrow? Not because you are paranoid, not because you expect disaster, but because somewhere deep in your understanding of how the world works, you know that one source of income is not a financial plan. It is a financial risk, and the bigger that single source grows, the more you depend on it. The more your family depends on it, the more dangerous that risk becomes. Dangote understood this before he had his first million. He did not start as an industrialist. He did not start with a factory or a refinery or a cement plant. He started as a trader, a man with 3,000 and a simple idea: buy something where it is cheap, move it to where it is needed, sell it for more than you paid. That is it. That was his second income before it became his first income, before it became his only income, before it became the foundation of the largest industrial empire in African history. And today, I'm going to show you exactly how to build yours, starting with whatever you have, right now. Not next year. Not when you have more now. Why one income is the most dangerous financial position you can be in. Let me show you something that most people never calculate. If you earn $500 per month from a single source, a job, a single client, a single business, your entire financial life is one decision away from collapse, one restructuring, one lost contract, one health crisis, one political change that affects your sector, one event. That is all it takes. Now here is what changes when you have a second income of just $150 per month. Your financial resilience doubles, not because $150 is a lot of money, but because it means that if your primary income disappears tomorrow, you have something. A bridge, a runway, time to rebuild without desperation. And desperation is the most expensive state you can be in financially. Because desperate people make desperate decisions. They accept bad terms. They sell assets at the wrong time. They borrow at the wrong rates. They take opportunities that are not opportunities at all, just because something is better than nothing when nothing is all you have. Dangote never made decisions from desperation. Not because he was lucky, because he built financial resilience before he needed it. Layer by layer, income source by income source, long before any single source became critical enough to threaten everything. That is the first principle of building a second income the Dangote way. You build it before you need it, not during the crisis, before it. The 4 types of second income available to every African right now. Let me be very specific about this, because most content on this subject is frustratingly vague. Start a side hustle. Invest your money. Create passive income. These phrases sound good and mean, nothing without a concrete framework. Here are the 4 types of second income that are genuinely available to someone in Africa right now with limited capital, limited time, and a full-time primary commitment already in place. The first type is trade income. This is exactly where Dangote started, and it remains the most accessible entry point for building a second income on this continent because it requires more attention than capital, and it teaches you more about markets, customers, and pricing than any business school ever could. Trade income means buying something where it is available and affordable, and selling it where it is scarce and needed. This can be physical goods, electronics bought in one city, sold in another, agricultural products bought during harvest when prices are low, stored and sold during scarcity when prices are high, imported goods sold locally, locally produced goods sold to buyers in other regions. It can also be digital goods, software, design assets, educational materials, templates, things that cost nothing to reproduce and can be sold repeatedly. The margin does not need to be large. Dangote's early trading margins were thin. What mattered was volume, consistency, and the discipline to reinvest instead of spend. A 15% margin on $500 of traded goods is $75 to that consistently every month. Reinvest the margin into larger inventory. In 12 months, you are trading $2,000 of goods and making $300 per month with the same amount of effort. That is how trade income scales, not by working harder, by working consistently and reinvesting disciplinedly. The second type is service income. You have a skill that someone else needs right now, without any additional training or certification. You can write, you can design, you can translate, you can teach, you can code, you can manage social media, you can do accounting, you can fix things, you can organize things, you can photograph things, you can explain things. Every skill you have developed in your professional life is a potential source of service income, if you are willing to offer it directly to people who need it, outside the structure of your primary employment. The African digital economy is creating demand for skilled services faster than the supply of skilled providers can keep up. Nigerian writers are writing content for American companies. Ghanaian designers are creating brands for European startups. Kenyan virtual assistants are managing calendars for Australian entrepreneurs. Geography is no longer a barrier. Your skill is the product, and the market for that product is global. Start with what you already know. Offer it to one client. Deliver it exceptionally well. Ask for a referral. Add another client. Your service income will grow in direct proportion to the quality of the work you deliver and the consistency with which you show up. This is not glamorous. It is not passive, but it is real. It is immediate, and it is available to almost everyone reading this right now. The third type is rental income. This is the one most people dismiss immediately because they think it requires owning property, and property feels inaccessible. It does not require property. Rental income means making something you own available to others in exchange for payment. And in the modern African economy, that something can be almost anything. A spare room in your house, a parking space, a vehicle, equipment, a generator, a camera, a sound system, a sewing machine, a commercial blender, storage space, a commercial kitchen, a chair in your salon that a freelance stylist can rent by the day. Look around the space you currently occupy. Look at the assets you currently own. Ask one question. Is there something here that someone else needs access to and would pay for? Dangote understood this principle at a massive scale. Every factory he built was essentially a rental of productive capacity to the African market, charged through the price of the goods produced. But the principle works at every scale. You do not need a factory. You need one asset that someone else needs. Start with what you have. Rent it to someone who needs it. Use the income to acquire another rentable asset. That is the entire model. The fourth type is knowledge income. This is the most underutilized source of second income in Africa, and potentially the most scalable. You know something that other people need to know about your industry, about your profession, about your city, about a skill you have mastered, about a problem you have solved. Knowledge. Income means packaging what you know into a format that others can access and pay for. A workshop, an online course, a consulting session, a written guide, a newsletter, a coaching program. The barrier to creating knowledge income has never been lower. A smartphone and a WhatsApp group can generate income from knowledge. A simple PDF sold through social media can generate income from knowledge. A 1-hour Zoom session with 3 people who need your expertise can generate income from knowledge. Dangote has created knowledge income at the highest level. His time, his perspective, his strategic guidance is worth extraordinary amounts to the right people. But the principle scales down perfectly. Your knowledge, packaged correctly, is worth real money to the right people in your community right now. The Dangote framework for building your second income. Now let me give you the exact framework, not theory steps. Step 1. Identify your entry point. Look at the 4 types of income I just described. Trade, service, rental, knowledge. Ask yourself honestly, which of these do I have the most natural access to right now? Not which is most exciting. Not which sounds most impressive. Which can I actually start with what I have in the next 30 days? If you have $200 in market access, trade income. If you have a professional skill and internet access, service income. If you have an asset someone else needs, rental income. If you have specialized knowledge and an audience, knowledge income. Pick one, not 2, not 3. 1. Dangote did not diversify immediately. For the first 20 years of his career, he was a trader, one type of income, mastered completely, before he moved to the next level. The temptation to do everything at once is exactly what prevents most people from building anything at all. Step 2. Start embarrassingly small. This is the step that most people skip, because it feels beneath them. And it is the reason most people never start. Your first trade does not need to be $500 of inventory. It can be $20. Your first service client does not need to be a major corporation. It can be a neighbor. Your first rental income does not need to come from a property. It can come from a generator you rent for one evening. Your first knowledge product does not need to be a full online course. It can be a one-page guide sold for $5. The size does not matter. The habit does. Dangote started with a $3,000 loan and a simple commodity trade. That was embarrassingly small compared to what he would eventually build. But it was real. It was moving. And moving as even slowly, even at a small scale, is infinitely better than planning to move someday at a larger scale. Start embarrassingly small. Start this week. Start with what you have right now. Step 3. Protect the income before you spend it. This is where Dangote's discipline becomes non-negotiable. Every dollar your second income generates goes into a dedicated account, separate from your primary income, separate from your personal expenses, a completely isolated pool of capital that has one purpose only: to grow. From this account, you reinvest 80% immediately, back into inventory, back into tools that improve your service, back into another rentable asset, back into better knowledge products. You keep 20% as your return, the reward for the discipline of building. This ratio is not permanent. As the income grows and becomes more stable, the ratio can shift. But in the early stages, when the habit is being formed and the foundation is being built, 80% reinvestment is the discipline that separates the people who build something real from the people who generate income and wonder why nothing ever accumulates. Step 4. Measure everything from day one. Every transaction, every expense, every margin, every customer, every source of revenue, not because you need sophisticated accounting software, because you cannot grow what you cannot see, and you cannot see what you do not measure. Dangote reviews financial data across his entire empire every single day. You are not managing an empire yet, but the habit of measurement, started now, at the smallest scale, is the habit that will make managing an empire possible someday. A simple notebook works. A basic spreadsheet works. What matters is that every week you sit down and ask, what came in, what went out, what is the trend, and what is the next step? Step 5. Reinvest in the relationship, not just the transaction. This is the step that accelerates everything else, and it costs nothing. Every customer you serve, every client you work with, every person who rents from you or pays for your knowledge, they are not just a transaction. They are a potential referral, a repeat customer, a partner, a door to the next opportunity. Treat them accordingly. Deliver more than they expected. Follow up after the transaction. Remember what they told you about their needs. Show genuine interest in their success. Dangote built his business relationships over decades. The loyalty of his partners, his clients, his suppliers, built through consistent over-delivery and genuine care, became one of his most valuable competitive advantages. Your second income will grow faster from the depth of the relationships you build than from the width of the marketing you do. Every satisfied customer is a sales force of one. Treat them like it. What your second income will actually do for you. Let me be honest about the timeline. Because false promises are one of the things that destroy trust between content creators and their audiences. In month 1, your second income will be small, possibly embarrassingly small. That is normal. That is correct. That is how every real income stream starts. In month 6, it will be larger. Not life-changing, but real and growing. In year 2, it will be significant. Significant enough that you will begin to feel the financial resilience we talked about at the beginning of this video. The feeling that if your primary income disappeared tomorrow, you would have time to rebuild without desperation. In year 5, if you have applied the reinvestment discipline, Consistently, it will be competing with your primary income for dominance, and at that point you will face the most important decision of your entrepreneurial life. Which income do you scale? Which do you make the primary? That is the decision Dangote made. After 20 years of trading, of building a secondary income with discipline and patience and relentless reinvestment, he made the decision to go all in, to take the capital he had accumulated and build something that could not be built any other way. The refinery, the cement plants, the sugar factories, the flour mills, none of that was possible without the 20 years of disciplined second income building that came before it. Your second income is not a luxury. It is not a side project. It is not something you do when you have extra time and energy. It is the foundation of everything you want to build. Start today. Start small. Start with what you have, and trust the process the way Dangote trusted it, for as long as it takes, with as much discipline as it demands, until what you are building becomes impossible to ignore. If this video gave you something you can use starting this week, subscribe, because next week we go deeper into the one investment principle that Dangote says every African must understand before putting a single dollar anywhere.